Hello, Ilya Leonov here. I feel it is time I tried to say something about my very sparse postings as of late. Excuses and reasons are different things. I do not like to make excuses. An excuse assumes that one is absolved from the responsibility of one's own actions or inactions. I do not have excuses. I should have probably been posting much more often than I have. I do, however, have reasons. I will try to outline those here, and then explain my hopeful path going forward. There is a fair bit of medical detail in here, so you might just want to skip bits of it. Many things have happened in the last couple of years. The most impactful, I suppose, has been cancer. Most of you know I had a bout with cancer back in 2018. I had to have a section of my small intestines, basically the duodenum, removed. I was in the hospital a week or so for this, and the tube which had been down my throat for a couple of weeks ruined my voice for a while. But I got over that. As a result of that surgery, I developed a ventral incisional hernia for which I was readmitted to the hospital, so that they could install a large bit of mesh in my abdomen. I eventually recovered from that, and so I was back in the recording game. But then I developed an ever-growing pain in my groin, and my GP seemed to find no answer for it. Eventually I requested a referral to a urologist, which the GP should have done without my request. I have since left that physician and found another GP whom I like very much. So, after a bit of exploratory surgery, my urologist had some rather bad news for me. I had another cancer, this one a bit more severe. It had pretty much destroyed my bladder and my prostate. So, I had further surgery to remove both my bladder and my prostate. It was a long surgery, lasting several hours. They once again had to resection my small intestine, removing a portion of it to create a specialized organ. It is sewn together at one end, and the other end sewn to a hole in my abdomen. Then the tubes leading from my kidneys were surgically attached to this new organ. The urine is then discharged out through the hole in my abdomen into a plastic pouch, which at all times must remain secured with adhesive to my abdomen. I have no control over this new organ, so I have to be aware of when the plastic pouch is full. There are some advantages, actually. One must never engage in self-pity and must always look for the positives in any situation which you cannot amend. One advantage is that at night when I sleep, the pouch is attached to a tube which leads down into a larger bag which rests on a stand on the floor. This floor bag will hold up to 2 liters, so I never have to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Also, I must say that now I have none of the pain which had plagued me for many years, so it's a win-win. When I spoke to the surgeons after the operation, they said I had a 30% chance of contracting a serious infection due to the nature of the surgery. I did, indeed. A very serious infection. After I went home, I developed a high fever which I could not tame. A nurse was sent to my house to administer intravenous antibiotics, but the fever did not abate. Finally, it went over 104, and so I was once again admitted to the hospital. It was barely in time. I would have been septic within hours. Once again, surgery to remove an infected mass and 10 more days in the hospital with tubes draining out all the fluids and antibiotics around the clock. Finally, I went home, but I had a golf ball-sized hole in my abdomen which had been eaten out by the infection. So I had to have a nurse in every couple of days for 2 months to tend this infection at home. It was a lot to get used to, and I had to sleep in a chair for a couple of months. All in all, my life was a bit upended for quite a while, and I was in no mood to record anything. The infection totally killed my appetite, and I lost about 40 pounds as a result of it. During the period of no appetite, which lasted a couple of months, I could hardly bear to eat anything. The doctors told me not to worry about nutrition and just eat anything I could. The only thing which tasted remotely good was sugar. So I ate lots of ice cream and candy and sprinkled sugar on anything else I ate. I developed some really bad habits. Eventually, after my infection was completely gone, my appetite came back. But as I said, I had developed very bad eating habits. I gained the 40 pounds back and picked up an extra 10. I'm struggling a bit with that right now. Losing weight at my age is tricky. My sister was very helpful during all of this and came over regularly to help out with treating my wound. It was in a place that I could not see very well without a mirror, and so it was nice to have her help. Our family gets along very well, and we have never had any squabbles that I can remember in all of my 68 years. But we are also not very close. My mom died in 2019, and so it was just my brother, my sister, and me. No aunts, uncles, cousins, or grandparents, just us three. So my sister and I grew much closer during this time. But then, last May, disaster befell her. She was driving down the highway when she developed a headache so bad that she could not see to drive. She pulled off the road and called 911. By the time the ambulance arrived, she was unconscious. She never regained it. She was in a coma for 2 weeks, during which time my brother and I sat with her until finally the doctors told us there was no hope, and we had to make a decision. I must say, that is not an easy decision to make. But there was no pathway ahead for any sort of real life for her. We finally elected to disconnect her from the machinery. She passed within a half hour. She will be missed by many people. If I had to advise anyone of anything in this life, it is that no matter your age, you should make a will. You truly have no certainty of seeing tomorrow. That is a fact of life. And if you die without having made a will, it will be ever so much more difficult for your family. I'm no one to lecture on this. I only made mine out before my last surgery. But I urge you to do it nevertheless. My sister did not leave a will, and so my brother and I have had to settle her estate through the court. It was easier than it might have been if there were other heirs, but a will would have made it much easier. She left bank accounts, insurance policies, retirement accounts, 2 nice cars, and a very nice house. The house is the most time-consuming. Houses are so much more full of stuff than one might imagine. My brother and I have no need of such things, so we have to find a way to get rid of them before we can list the house for sale. So this, too, is taking a lot of time. And then there is my business. I own a screen printing company, which I started in 2002, and which has now started to boom since the end of COVID. So I'm needed there quite a bit. Not that I mind, but it does take my time. Reasons, remember, not excuses. Also, I've been doing a lot of work for other creators. I would always honor those commitments before producing work for my own channel. And then there is my sound card. This is my latest and greatest hiccup. I had an old Sound Blaster Live card which I used in an old Windows XP machine for many years. It is the computer and card which has produced my signature sound for so many years. The beauty of it was that it had pretty much zero latency, probably due to having ASIO drivers. I bought another card and put it in, but the latency was horrible. Another one, same results. So I bought a Focusrite Scarlett, and I've been using it, but I really don't like it. So I'm shopping for a really good card with ASIO drivers so I can get my old sound back. This sound card issue is really the reason I have not recorded anything recently. I hope to have this issue solved soon. I do have a backlog of stuff to get to. And during my convalescence and lack of sound card, I found myself immersed in other activities, such as video games I wanted to catch up on, and a rather consuming hobby of working with reel-to-reel tape machines. This may be the largest impediment, in fact, to producing more videos. It is difficult not to look at my long-term outlook and not react accordingly. I have done quite a number of things in my life, but I have a rather short time left to do much of what I'm interested in. I have a condition known as Lynch syndrome. The short explanation is that my cells make mistakes when they replicate. I am prone to developing cancers as a result. I've had 4 removed, and I've just been biopsied for a 5th last week. It is not much of a stretch to imagine that one of them will get me eventually, possibly sooner than later. I'm not complaining, mind you. I've lived a rich and wonderful life, but what do I want to do with the time I have left? Make more videos, certainly, but other things as well. Audio is my passion. I love finding old recordings, digitally restoring them, and converting them to reel-to-reel format, which was the highest quality music format when I was a lad. There is little commercial use for doing this, but it gives me a great deal of satisfaction. I do have a number of YouTube videos in the works, some new, some old, some music. Hopefully getting a new sound card will spur me on to completing them. This is all a very long list of things which, while they do not forgive my absence, they do go some way to explain it. But I hope you will bear with me, as I do have some projects in the work when I can get back to them. I appreciate the loyalty and interest of each and every one of you, and I hope to repay it with more content as soon as I can. Thank you so much.